Boa noite, pessoal. Como vai? Tudo bem? Sejam muito bem-vindos ao Business Talks Podcast. Esse é o nosso primeiro episódio da primeira temporada. Tem um convidado muito especial, que é o Shon. É um empreendedor de Ohio, nos Estados Unidos. Ele foi meu professor na Universidade de Akron e foi uma experiência maravilhosa. Então, agora eu vou mudar a tela aqui para o Shon participar um pouco conosco também e vou apresentar a vocês agora only English, ok? So, welcome, Shon. It's a pleasure to have you here on our podcast, Business Talks podcast. You were one of the best teachers I ever had. We had a fantastic experience in the University of Akron, and I really wanted to invite you, and I'm really glad you accepted. So it's a pleasure for me to have you here.
Thank you, and thanks for the kind words. It was great meeting you at the University of Akron, and just a great group that we welcomed over from Brazil. So glad to be catching up with you here today, Mark.
All right. So before I start, I'm going to make a very short introduction of Shon. So Shon Christy boasts over 20 years of marketing experience, and it's the founder of the Shon Christy Social Media, Fractional Social Media Pro, Ohio's first niche fractional social media company, and most recently, the founder of Neuro Social Labs, a first of its kind social media optimization program focused on the behavior science behind social media engagement. In 2010, he opened Christy Creative, Ohio's first niche social media marketing firm, and has founded and sold 2 firms since then. Shon has worked with over 800 companies internationally over the last 13 years. His work has been featured in Inside Business, Smart Business, the Akron Beacon Journal, The Spirit of Philanthropy, and the Young Professional Roadmap, as well as in the book Under the Rust Belt, Revealing Innovation in Northeast Ohio. Ever the entrepreneur, Christy has even launched the Beaked Buddies, a fundraising group to support those with Down syndrome in honor of his 13-year-old son, Beckett, when he was born. The organization has raised over $100,000 for local causes since inception. It's a lot bigger, so I'm going to stop here, and it's been nice. And Shon, this podcast is to inspire people. And first of all, I would like to understand a little more about your history, why you decided to be an entrepreneur, and why you choose the marketing and the social media when nobody knew much about it, right?
Sure. So I think that I've always had a drive to want to own my own business and be an entrepreneur. I just never had the idea what was it going to be, right? And so I graduated from the University of Akron with my first degree in marketing management, really having an interest in international business, but really didn't have that business idea yet. And then went back to school 2007 to 2009 to get my master's. And so it was a lot of right time, right place, where during my master's degree, Facebook had just really gotten onto the college campuses. And in the beginning, you had to have a .edu address. And so the college students that I work with during my master's, the undergraduate students, were all using Facebook, and they got me engaged with it. And I really saw the power. Fast forward to graduating with my master's, when my son was born, he had some health challenges and needed to figure out a way to do something different just because of the challenges that he was facing in the hospital and family dynamics, etc. So I had put a post out, and at this time, Facebook had just went from .edu to .com, and it hadn't been like fully adopted yet mainstream, but I had put a post out talking about some of his health challenges and talking about, a fundraiser that we were doing, and asked for some prayers. And we raised, around $5,000 like that overnight. And I remember thinking, I am in a hospital room. I have not seen a single human being, and it took me 30 seconds to post this, and money just showed up. And so at that point, I knew that there was something special here. And so I started doing research. At the time, I could only find one niche company in the entire country, but definitely none in Ohio. So I decided to go all in on this. If it could do that in 15, 30 seconds or whatever it was for me, what could it do for other organizations? What could it do for business? And at this time, remember, there were only personal profiles. There were no business profiles at this time. So I really saw a communication opportunity here to change the way companies and organizations and individuals marketed. And I wanted to be on the front end of that. So I took out my 401k, my savings, and decided I was going to go all in and ride this as far as it could go. Fast forward now, from 2010 to 2024, it's, the number one marketing medium internationally with the largest ad spend. So I've seen it go from being laughed at to being the top priority in a very, very short amount of time, which has been awesome.
Well, that's very nice. So I didn't know about this story. So it's very inspiring that. So, and what advice would you give to someone starting a career in digital marketing nowadays?
Advice to somebody starting a career, I would say understanding the psychology of why marketing works versus worrying about just, graphic creation and putting out posts and platforms. AI is certainly changing the game in content creation, but humans consume the content. And so understanding humanity and why they do what they do, especially for your target demographic, I think is critically important. So really having a audience-centric approach to digital marketing, really understanding your audience well, and understanding human behavior, I think is critically important. To me, the most important thing.
Yeah, and in the US, Instagram it's bigger than TikTok. Yeah, but do you also work with TikTok for your clients?
So we consult on it. What I found early on, so the answer is we do not do the work, but we do consult on it. And I think that there's a ton of value to it. I mean, certainly all platforms have their challenges, and you've seen some things in the news around, forcing TikTok to sell to a US-based company and things of this nature. But all of that aside, I think it's important to understand the power of the platform, to understand the growing younger audience, and kind of thinking 5 years in advance where this thing will go, because certainly it has major traction now. It's driving commerce. It's making an impact. It's got attention. So it's critically important. But one of the challenges is it's hard for agencies, in my opinion, to drive that. It's so natural and organic. It's not a situation, in my opinion, where you sit down and you storyboard and then you produce. The content that's really winning is just this very authentic, viral type content that creators are creating for their audiences. And so I think being authentic on the platform is really important, and spending the time that you need to engage and drive the results is really important. And I don't see a lot of organizations that are excited about paying agency rates for companies to do that. And it's hard to scale, in my opinion. So we have opted out. I've seen other entrepreneurs try to specialize in TikTok creation. And I'm sure there are cases out there where people are winning at it. It's just something for us when we dove into it, when we explored and we worked through the execution of that with the clients that we have all across the world. We just thought it wasn't a place that we could win and do a great job at a reasonable price. So we opted out and just decided to consult in that manner.
Right. And talking about changes, what are the biggest changes you have seen in digital marketing and social media over the past decade? You are someone that were just in the beginning, so you, in Portuguese, we have an expression that is quando tudo era mato, when everything was only grass, you know?
Yeah.
So that's when you started with. And what are the biggest changes you saw over the past 10 years?
Well, I think, when it started, it was all personal profiles, and it was all made for connection. And we really, as humans, loved the ability to connect with people, that live far away, and be able to share pictures and videos and just stay connected. And then, enter in entertainment. We're spending more and more time on these platforms, and then the platforms monetizing with business pages and paid advertising. And so that was a big leap. In the beginning, when you put something out there, everyone would see it. And you had these huge reach numbers, and then spammers got involved and kind of ruined it for everyone. And then from there, once we started getting the capitalization of the platforms, more platforms started to surface doing the exact same thing. Now I think it's, more than 6 platforms per person that people are participating in, at least here in the US. And so that tells you, how much people are engaged and embedded into social media. So I think that that has been a big piece of it. And now you have AI creating content for people and organizations. And so that's, to me, the biggest shift, and certainly detrimental to agencies long-term in the content creation game. If you've played at all with any of these AI tools, certainly they haven't taken over, and certainly you need humans to guide the technology, but it certainly has given us a shortcut. And so I think gone are the days are these high agency rates for them to do the work for companies. I think that's going to change that game, which is why we've kind of pivoted into the human behavioral science side of this, to understand, what's working, why is it working, and how can we advise companies to do more of that. One of the things that I always talk about, and I think I shared with your group, Mark, is that, Pete Cashmore from Mashable said that attention is the new currency. And he said that a long time ago, and I believe that to be more true today than it was when he made the comment, just because so much is coming at us and our minds are filtering and rejecting information so quickly. We really have to provide value. We really have to gain alignment. And it's one of the places that I've been doing some research in to really understand, like, what are the triggers? What is the attention principle? What are the things that make people pay attention and then react in the way that we want them to react? And so I think really getting kind of behind the curtain of that is super important. And then you start to look into the future, and it's some of the stuff that we talked about is this concept of experiential social media in the metaverse, in the Oculus, augmented reality, and some of these things. Those things are going to be here before we know it. And you look at games like Roblox in our younger population, getting involved from a gaming perspective, that they've already made the announcement that that's going to be in the metaverse and transitioning into that space. And you're seeing brands do it, like Adidas shoes, people getting in front of that and having first mover advantage. I just think it's really important to not only understand where we started, but where we're at and then where we're going. Because by the time you react to some of those things, your competitors are going to be in front of you. So I think taking some risks, some manageable risks, to kind of understand how you could get in front. And I think that we have one of those moments in time right now. And so taking a look at how you can prepare and how you can win, and where the future of social media and digital marketing is going is super important.
Yeah, you talked about games and the Meta Quest, the metaverse. I just bought 2 Meta Quests and a couple computer games and video games that we are going to make a club here at school.
Yeah.
Just like I saw in Akron, the University of Akron, they have a place there for games as well. So that kind of inspired me to bring that to our school here in Brazil, so kids can get more involved with that and be on the good side of it. So we gotta focus The same thing I believe is for internet users, social media users. I think it's much better when you are the creator instead of being only the consumer.
Yeah.
So, and you and other teachers opened my eyes to that if we don't create, we are only consuming. And in the end of the month, if we only consume and do not create, it's not good for our pockets. So that's when I thought about creating a podcast and making my profile bigger on Instagram and LinkedIn. You are one of the persons that most inspired me to make better posts and do that, because we can create value on that. And the same way people say everybody is a seller,
Yeah.
but some are bad sellers and some are good sellers. I believe everybody needs to be on social media. The only difference is that you can be good at it or you can be bad. So right now I choose to be good, and that's why I'm talking to you, because you're an expert with that. You are making a lot of companies making good money. And have you ever worked with any Brazilian company?
We haven't actually executed any work with companies in Brazil. Early on, we did have a strategic alliance formed to do some international work with a Brazilian agency that we actually met through the Laovi program, but it never materialized into actual closed business. We did have a couple really good conversations, but nothing ever took root. I do have plans to do kind of an educational tour with some individuals that have been part of the Laovi program at some point next year. Want to get out your way and just share some of the knowledge that we have, kind of in a more workshop-y format. So that's on the horizon, but definitely would welcome that and look forward to that to expand our footprint, make an impact, and certainly help where needed.
All right. So the next topic that you already said something about it is the AI. So it's a big thing now. Everybody's talking. I am a Chat GPT user, and I encourage a couple people from our school to look at it and to give it a chance to make some works better. And what about in your company? Are you encouraging your team to use it? And do you think you got more productive, or is still in the process of it?
Yeah, certainly it has increased productivity. And I think where you get the biggest advantage is on the brainstorming side. So anything from taglines to longer form content like blog posts to short form posts, just to get a feel for what direction you want to go with something. If you're not really able to get the right words together, just starting to brainstorm with ChatGPT really shortcuts the content creation side down. We do not just do copy and paste out of ChatGPT, but certainly I encourage the team to understand prompting and to use it for brainstorming purposes when they're stuck. Even if they're not stuck, you might go a different direction based on something that you see. So I think it's a great tool for that, because especially on the longer form content, when you're having trouble diving deeper into a topic, it gives you some ideas that I think just make the content more well-rounded and gives it a little bit more depth. So I do encourage the team. And in fact, it's part of the premise of the Fractional Social Pro is, we are going to leash you an employee for a bucket of hours on a monthly basis that understands how to maximize the time that they're spending with you by using the AI tools and the social media expertise to give you the most bang for your buck from an hourly perspective. So I think that's definitely, the future. And we're encouraging our students at the university as well. And we're right now leveraging an AI task force that we just started to meet. And we're also looking at different content that we can provide. So I'll be teaching a weekend workshop to our undergraduate population just to get feedback from them on what did they like, what was missing, what do they want more of. And then we can really put some great programming together based on that initial toe in the water. So really piloting kind of this movement from a higher ed perspective. Our marketing department, the chair of our marketing department, Vanya, does a great job, is very forward thinking, and wants to make sure that our student population is prepared to be world-class marketers when they leave the University of Akron. And so we're definitely exploring all the angles of AI and how we should leverage it to make our students and our marketers stronger, faster, better marketers.
Well, that's great. Yeah, usually United States is the head of the world, so we always look to the US and try to see what you guys are doing, and we just go after it, But we are still on baby steps to that. But we think about it too. What are the emerging trends in social media that business should be aware of? Do you know any trends?
So I think, to me, why has TikTok really won? The short form video, to me, if you're not doing it, I think it's a great place to start. If you have long form video, cutting that video down. If you've already done the heavy lifting and you've got a video series, you've got all this long form video, I think taking that and chopping it up and, putting the subtitles in, giving just people those sound bites. That way you can maximize and optimize that content production. I think that's really important. YouTube Shorts have been doing well for our clients. Instagram Reels have been doing great for our clients. So I think, that's a big deal. I think shortcutting your time frame. We just talked about AI. Certainly, if you're spending 20 hours a week creating content, could you save 5 hours by using some new tools? And I'm always looking for, different ways that we can have that slight edge. So social listening is a good one. Content management through a platform like Sprout Social, which is our go-to, I think is important. So we can do scheduling, we can do listening, we can do analysis. And then this neurosocial stuff that you kind of led with today, companies, I don't think many companies are using the behavioral science behind what's working and testing and measuring that. So I think that is going to be a big thing to look out for if you're not doing it. And I'm going to guess that most companies aren't. Maybe, your Fortune 100 brands, but certainly not. There's no mass adoption to that. So I think really understanding your campaigns and what wins and what doesn't, and also not letting good be the enemy of great. A lot of times we're like, oh, that program did well, that campaign did pretty well, but could it have done twice as well, right? And did we miss the mark because we were excited about good and not great? So I think really pushing the envelope and trying to optimize every single thing you do, from planning to production to execution into analysis. How can you get better, even if it's just 1% month after month after month? And then when you look back a couple years later, all of a sudden you're that much further from your competition. So I think those would be a couple things that I would pay attention to if I was a business owner or a marketing manager.
Oh, that's good. I'm already thinking about a good idea of you come to Brazil and give a workshop for Brazilians. That's a good idea for you, Shon.
Yeah, I would love to. I was talking with your group when we had that alumni after hours, just about like, what does beachfront property look like in Brazil? And you never know. I might buy something down there at some point and do a little Airbnb for a while, and then summer retreat during the off months.
Yeah, that would be good. You would like the weather here. It's a little better than Ohio in the winter.
You came in the summertime. Those groups that come in like February, they're getting hammered with snow.
Yeah, I know. So we are coming to the end, but I would like to ask a couple questions. So if you could give just one piece of advice to a small business starting to use social media, what would it be?
Have a strategy. It doesn't matter how big the company is. Most of the companies that I've worked with over the years have never had an actual written plan. And so that would be the absolute starting place to me. Understand what your goals are. Understand how you're going to measure those goals. Really understand your audience. We've already talked about this today. Who is your audience in detail? What do they like? What do they not like? Be detailed in that regard. If you don't know, ask. And then match the content to the audience. I think that's really important. Another thing we stress is competitive analysis. You can use that as a benchmark. So you take the top 3 competitors in your market, take a look at what they're doing. How often are they posting? What kind of engagement are they getting? What is their audience size? That'll be a good place to start. I shared about our technology partner, Sprout Social, and they've got a great competitive analysis tool. If you don't want to spend the time to do it, you can just upload your competitors into their reporting mechanism, and it'll tell you all of those details, and it'll match you up against them so you can see where you stand. And then once you have that strategy, execute, obviously, and then analyze to make sure that you're hitting those marks. And if you're not, really dive into why are you not hitting the marks. And if you're hitting them, celebrate that too with your team. But I think having a strategy is so important. And I see so few companies do it. I would say less than 2% of the companies that I've worked with have ever had a fully written down strategy that was detailed.
Well, that's good. And now more 2 questions. One is for how do you balance the demands of being a successful entrepreneur with your personal life? I know you have a couple kids, and you are a teacher, and you also have business. And how do you manage all that?
So, in full transparency, Mark, I probably am not a great balancer. I think, I try to maximize the greatest opportunities on all fronts. Let's just talk family, from a family perspective, with my kids, I try to be there for all the major things, but I probably miss some of the minor things, right? But I'm not missing, the cheerleading competition. I'm not missing, their kindergarten graduation or their, high school graduation. Those moments that really count, those are top priorities. But I might not be home every night for dinner, right? So I think it depends on, how you define balance individually, and everybody feels differently about it. But I think that balance ebbs and flows with priorities. And so certainly, like, the business provides the opportunities for my family and the opportunities for philanthropy. And so that thing has to be healthy, but I also can't neglect, kind of those family ties and my faith or my fitness for that matter. I try to make all of those things a priority. And sometimes I'm winning in some, and sometimes I'm losing in some. But I think when you look at a 12-month period, I think they all balance out. But I might have a month that's heavily family, and I might have a month that's heavily business. And I just try to make sure, like, none of them, it's a balancing act, right? None of them are ever falling to the ground, but it ebbs and flows, I think.
Yeah, that's right. And the final question, do you have a favorite quote or mantra that guides your life, your career?
So for me, like, did you say coach or code?
Quote.
No, quote, sorry. I think
quote or mantra, like some
mantra.
statement that you tell yourself, or
so I think
never bet against America.
I would say one of them is a Gandhi quote. It's be the change you wish to see in the world. One of the things that I see is that many people, I won't blanket statement, many people complain about the problems and challenges. I take action. I take imperfect action, but I move forward, and I don't stop until I get to the place that I'm going. And I'm just really inspired by that. Be the change. Like, I'm not going to wait for somebody to solve the problem or drive the change. I want to be the one to do that to the things that I'm passionate about. Because I think a lot of times business people, or just people in general, spend too much time analyzing things, and it becomes that, paralysis by analysis situation. And so I'm like, okay, like that thing needs changed. I'm just going to take what I believe is the next step to do that. And I'm okay with it being an imperfect step. I'm just going to drive towards it, and I'll learn something when I make that move, but at least I'm that much closer to it. So, I'm all about taking action. It's what I've done. It's how I've been successful. I don't overthink it. I don't overanalyze. I'll fail forward and I'll learn from those things, but I'm going to drive till I get to where I'm going.
I really like the change you want to see in the world. I like this as well. So, Shon, for people to follow on LinkedIn and Instagram, all the social media, is only Shon Christy, right?
Yep, SHON.
That's right. And I want to make you a final invitation. If you ever come to Brazil, please let me know, because I would be more than glad to be your host. I can show you around, and I can show you the good side of Brazil. Okay?
Yeah, I know, absolutely. I will definitely be hitting you up, and all my friends that I've created over the years. I would love to see everyone, and I've seen many, many pictures of Brazil. Cannot wait to see it in person, because while the pictures are beautiful, I have to believe that it's just that much better in person.
That's right. So thank you very much, Shon. Thank you for your time. So thank you once again, and have a good one.
All right, you too. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.